So when Elon Musk took over Twitter, his very first move was to fire its top executives. But here's the thing, this wasn't just some standard corporate shakeup. According to the source material we're looking at, this was a huge, symbolic act. It was basically an earthquake that sent shockwaves through the entire culture of Silicon Valley.
Right out of the gate, the message was loud and clear. The source really hammers this home. What happened went way beyond a normal round of layoffs. This was a public spectacle, a deliberate and frankly aggressive dismantling of the old guard. It was designed so that everyone in the industry would see it and feel it.
And right at the heart of all this drama is a cold, hard number, $122 million. That's the estimated severance pay Musk was trying to avoid when he fired CEO Parag Agrawal and his team for cause. So right from minute one, this shows us it wasn't just about big ideas. It was a pretty brutal financial calculation.
All right, let's break that down in our first section here, a brutal calculation. We're going to dig into the pretty extreme methods and the financial thinking behind those first explosive firings.
So how did Musk try to justify not paying out that massive sum? Well, his official reason was firing the executives for cause. He accused CEO Parag Agrawal of being deceitful about fake accounts and said the whole top management team was basically slacking off. But the key takeaway from the source material is that this was less of a legal argument and more of a weapon to hit a very specific financial target.
But this is where you see the real cultural impact. For years, Silicon Valley kind of ran on this unspoken elite etiquette. You know, even when executives got pushed out, it was usually handled quietly, and they walked away with enormous golden parachutes. Musk didn't just fire them, he publicly accused them and went after their money. He completely shattered the polite, unwritten rules of the tech world.
Now, to really get why Musk's move was such a bombshell, we have to understand the philosophy he was replacing. And that brings us to Section 2, the era of housekeepers.
Before Musk, the leadership style described by our source was something called defensive management. Basically, this style is all about guarding the success you already have. Your priorities are making stakeholders happy, managing PR, and making sure the stock price stays nice and stable. Think of it this way. Your job isn't to invade new lands, it's to protect the castle.
And, you know, for a big, mature company like Twitter, that actually made a certain amount of sense. The CEO's job wasn't to be some disruptive visionary anymore. It was to be a responsible steward, a housekeeper, if you will, whose main task was just keeping a huge, successful, and really complicated company running smoothly. Stability was absolutely the name of the game.
Which of course brings us to the moment of impact. Section 3, the pirate takes over. This is where we see Musk's hardcore offensive create this incredibly violent clash of cultures with that old guard.
And you can see the two philosophies right here in stark contrast. On one side, you have the housekeeper, focused on stability, PR, and keeping stakeholders happy. Their motto is basically, keep things steady. But on the other side, you have the pirate. The goal is disruption and raw code. The focus is hardcore execution. The motto is simple, hardcore or get out. This wasn't a merger. This was a hostile takeover of the culture itself.
And Musk wasted absolutely no time. It was a true blitz. He fired the top execs for cause. Then he personally went to the data centers to access the code. He got rid of 75% of the staff. And then he demanded that everyone who was left commit to a hardcore culture, which included sleeping in the office. It was a complete and total teardown of the old way of doing things.
Our source gives this a really powerful name, the dawn of the pirate era. A new chapter defined not by careful meetings and PR statements, but by raw ambition, brutal efficiency, and a leader who answers to absolutely no one but himself.
So you might be wondering, okay, this is a wild story about one company, but why does it matter to everyone else? Well, that's what we're covering in our final section, Silicon Valley's new message. This is all about the ripple effects, far beyond just Twitter.
The core argument from the source is that this whole thing signals a return to a kind of, well, primitive competition. It's a shift away from what it calls elite rhetoric and political correctness, and a move back to what really matters in tech. Pure coding ability and the power to just get things done. The era of managing by meetings and memos, it might just be over.
And that brings us to the central thesis of this entire analysis, and it's a powerful one. Silicon Valley no longer needs perfect housekeepers. It needs daring navigators. The message is that in a world of fierce competition, the safe manager is actually a liability. The future belongs to the bold, the risk-takers, the pirates, and the navigators.
So this whole public spectacle, it wasn't just about cleaning house at Twitter. The source argues it was an act of killing the chicken to scare the monkey, which is an old Chinese proverb. Musk was making an example out of Twitter's old leadership, the chicken, to send a clear, unmistakable message to the entire tech ecosystem, the monkeys, that a new, more ruthless standard of performance is here to stay.
Which leaves us with this final, really provocative question. Is the age of safe leadership over? Because according to this analysis, the pirate flag has been raised over Silicon Valley. And the only question now is who else is going to start sailing under it.